Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we're going to be playing one of the fastest heavy tanks in the game and one of the most dangerous heavy tanks in the game. And as you can see, I like to play this thing a little bit different. When I'm playing on a map like Mines, I use a spall liner on this vehicle so I can drop the medkit, because a spall liner protects your crew from damage. This in turn allows me to use premium fuel, which increases my engine power by 10%. When I combine this with a turbo on this vehicle and with vents, this vehicle becomes outrageously fast. But the vents will also still give this thing kind of the maximum firepower. The only thing I'm really sacrificing with this kind of a build will be the gun handling of the tank, where I like to usually use an accuracy device and an aiming device to be able to have more pinpoint shots against my opponents. However, I would argue that the spall liner and the fuel is going to win us this game. Immediately, I've got up on the hill before the medium tanks could contest, because when you've got a vehicle that has a power to weight ratio of 20 base and you put a turbo on it, well, that's going to be like another 10% engine power on the tank. When you also use fuel on this vehicle, that's going to be an extra 10% engine power on this vehicle, as well as the turret traverse as well. So now we're kind of packing about like 22, possibly even more power to weight ratio on this vehicle, which is like a faster medium. And so with a good top speed limit of 60, which then goes up to, well, 65, that then goes up to 70 when we're using the turbo on this vehicle, yeah, this thing, it ends up being pretty quick. The only thing I don't like about this build at the moment is I think my turbo is actually in the wrong slot. I'd like to put the turbo in the second slot, but usually I use a bounty turbo on this vehicle, and the bounty turbo, remember, doesn't have a slot bonus, and so then it would be better to use regular vents inside the slot to be able to get the bonus there. Remember, vents also improve your ground resistances on the tank because they increase your driver skill, and so they actually make your vehicle faster at pretty much everything by about 3%. And up slope, 3% is not a small margin when we're also factoring in all of these calculations. Not only did I take the hill, I took the hill unscathed. And let's say the bat chat had been a little bit faster up onto the hill, we would have been able to ram that tank. And I've featured this tank in YouTube videos before, talking about the spall liner to be able to use fuel to make this thing ultra quick. And I think I rammed a griller for about 1,200 in that video. Well, unfortunately today, you're not going to see any of those fancy magical rams that the 50B can pull off with this mobile build. But what I'm going to be showing you is that sometimes creating wacky builds, remember, you've got two builds, and you target specific maps or target situations, or you just target your specific playstyle, can actually do some wild things. And you can see that even without the vertical stabilizers on this tank, well, you're definitely not the sniping vehicle that I do like to play the 50B as occasionally. It's still not bad with regards to the gun handling. And a lot of that will come down to the coffee on this vehicle as well, improving the base accuracy by 5% as well as the gun handling. But you do notice whenever I do turn this turret, it blooms quite a bit. But with 0.1 dispersion when turning this tank's turret, it's not all that bad. And it's only really the moving dispersion, which is 0.18, that is quite poor. But if you can get something like smooth ride on your driver, that will help that out as well. So this is just the perfect game for the hill really so far. But unfortunately, as we can see, we've lost the whole of the east of this map, even though I've been dominating the center, giving my team a huge respite. Looks like everyone who went towards the cap circle just got farmed. There's a whole graveyard down here. But nevertheless, we're going to try and see what we can do. Now, I don't have to try and go for the interrupt right now. I think just getting 3 shots into the TNH VZ51 will be our best bet. But I do understand that it's actually the Scorpion and most likely the WT E100 that are inside the cap circle. And with the TNH entering the cap circle there, yeah, things got just a little bit hairy. Now, the base reload on this vehicle is 30 seconds. Probably goes down to roughly about 26, I'd say, with Vent, the premium consumable, and with Brothers in Arms on this tank. But now, we've only got 23 seconds left to be able to interrupt this, and I just didn't feel like anyone on my team was going to be able to. And what I'm going to show here again is that by going up on the hill, we're going to get ourselves hopefully into a position where we will make this interrupting play. With 10 seconds left, we reset the SG-130 PM, finish them off from this angle. Luckily, they didn't react to the scenario. But still, 30 seconds left. Luckily, I managed to spot the Scorpion G. The FV405 resets them. Oh gosh, I just got hit in the side by an FV405. But I decided that, you know, I think it's best if I just go in and I get farming right now. We're up to 7,200 combined so far in this battle. And I think it was the fuel and it was the spall liner that won this game. If I didn't take the hill, I don't think I would have been able to contest that location, and I don't think that we would have been able to reset the cap circle as well. Maybe I could have tried to support this flank instead, or maybe make a hero play, but if I hadn't gone up on the hill, then to all intents and purposes, the Bat Chat and the Standard B that we managed to farm up there would instead be up the hill, getting the crossfire, stopping us from defending the cap circle, and this game would be done. And so, it's really interesting in World of Tanks with the multiple setups that you can have and the way that they impact what kind of plays you can make. And how, sure, I would not use this build for every single map that I play on. For certain situations, like plowing through mines here and being able to get up onto the most important location, which is the top of the hill, I think pretty much every other build would have lost this game. But remember, it's not always the case that one build fits all. And you'll see that I just switched out the spall liner and the fuel on a map like Malinovka, where I think that quite often it's going to become more about the gun handling on this tank and reliably hitting our shells against our opponents rather than a mad rush. Now, of course, if I was to take the fuel and the turbo on this tank, I would be able to get up on the hill first. But what's the point of getting up on the hill first if you don't have the raw firepower to be able to then, for example, snipe on the hill afterwards? And so what I love doing on my tanks, and this is why people are they just can't seem to understand, why would you only have one build across a tank? Unless you're a free-to-play player and you're really struggling for credits on your account. But for everyone else who has ample credits now, or just spare equipment, spare bounty equipment from all of the battle passes, why not have multiple setups on a tank to then cover the wide variety of scenarios that your tank is going to be able to get on the maps? And now we can see that it's taken us a lot longer to be able to get up on the hill, but just look at this gun handling. Well, at least unless you aim like a potato, like me, against the Object 140. But man, this gun handling with the accuracy, with the vents and the vert stabs is just wild. I give a big thank you to the 430U for coming and supporting me here. I communicate my reload to him as well. I'm trying to keep my butt in because, uh-oh. And, oh, this feels bad, man. This 430U has helped me out so much by coming into this position. But if I stay there, I am literally just going to be a dead man. I'm not going to run away immediately. I'm going to dump out a mag, see if I can be able to get a kill on this Emil. But right now, I'm even going to try and get one extra shot on the T-54, possibly. No, I'm going to leg it. I'm going to leg it. Oh, I'm going to get one onto the WT here as I flee. I actually managed to hit the, what even tank was it there? The 60 TP, but we're unable to pen. But look, sitting in that situation, just feeding the WTE 100 is not going to be the way to win, even though it pains me. But I didn't know, and the 430U didn't know, that there were going to be just so many tanks up in that scenario. But back to it. That I just don't understand why people wouldn't use every tool at their disposal to be able to customize their tanks for the variety of scenarios that they find themselves in. I mean, you can't really do it so much with the field mods. You basically have to just have a one-size-fits-all with regards to the maps and the setups. But with your equipment, literally just hold Control and press 1 at the start of the game to switch out. And if you, like me on the 50B, want to have 2 consumable setups, which are also based on the equipment, because of course, you wouldn't take a spall liner unless you wanted to drop the medkit, right? Then you can kind of like blend them in and customize them together. And I tell you what, it also means that you can have so much more fun inside World of Tanks, because having multiple setups for your tanks allows you to then have more diversity with the way that you play. And you almost feel that you're also thinking through the situations that may happen. If, of course, you could be able to think through those situations that may happen. Which allow you to then look at the enemy team list and look at the map that you're playing, which you should always be doing. I'm not saying that you should only do this when you have 2 sets of equipment. But then it kind of like forces you to really try and think ahead. And any time that you've kind of thought ahead and kind of planned out your route for the battle, it's more likely that you're not going to get lost. And then this is just like the dream scenario here for the 50B. The vents improving our accuracy by 3%. I believe the aiming device improving our accuracy outside of a firepower slot by I think about 6%, maybe 5% on this. That's wild to me to think that vents inside a slot are doing half of what the accuracy device does as well as also doing 3% everything to the entire rest of my vehicle. Be it the ground resistances, the aim time, be it the turret traverse, and more importantly, be it the be it the view range on this vehicle as well. So weird to me in 2023 that I don't think I use coated optics on any of my heavy tanks. And it's not because I'm only using my heavy tanks in close quarters combat. It's because Wargaming have put so many things inside the game now where you just don't need to be increasing the view range. Most heavy tanks, if not I think all heavy tanks, I think they just get 3% extra view range purely from a field mod. And that 3% is enough for if you've got 390 base with recon and situational awareness to be able to get up to like 345 to 450 meters view range even without coated optics. And so why wouldn't you invest the aspects into your tank that will be probably more important? Like having the better accuracy in this case to be able to dump in the sniping rounds. Now I'm going to get a little bit filthy in this game. I was thinking, well, maybe this could be a real good opportunity. And with so many heavy tanks just up on the hill, now I've got gold loaded here, but oh man, I do like this gun. Not the best accuracy there. I was lucky that I was able to hit that one, but luckily it did fly true. If there had been any kind of deviation towards the right or above from where I specifically aimed, I didn't really account for that RNG. And accounting for RNG in your aiming is one of the most important things that you have to do. But of course, when you can just increase your accuracy as much as this, you can take a vehicle that has 0.35. I believe it gets 2% better from one of its field mods, albeit it increased moving dispersion. 3% from the vents, 5-6% from the aiming device. It all adds up, and then sniping tanks like this do become pinpoint. But uh-oh, this is a bit of a Matrix moment here, as some people said on the stream. We're ducking, we're weaving, we're trying to make our movements unpredictable. I got spotted, and I pinged the map because I believe that it must be a Char Future 4 or possibly an Object 140 that was spotting me from that location. Now, I'm getting back, not because I don't want to hold that position. I'm getting back because I thought that I could push out and make a flanking play and then try and come in from the side against the Gorilla. I legitimately did not think that the enemies were just going to push down this slope. But lo and behold, the enemies are pushing. Maybe they're just not wanting to kind of turn this into a 15-minute Malinovka camp, which, let's be honest, can quite often happen for the vast majority of games that you manage to get yourself into. Now, does that mean that I would change Malinovka? Honestly, no. I don't know how you all feel, but I think it's okay that there are a couple of maps that are more campy inside the game. You know, Malinovka, Prokhorovka. Don't know what that Object 140 was thinking, but I'm just thinking back to the garage with you. Unfortunately, the second shell doesn't go in against the second 140, but I'm hoping that these shells are going against the T95. And oh, that's an expensive way to play World of Tanks. I fired 20,000 credits to only do 400 damage. But you got to take your chances. Back to what I was saying. It's nice that I've got some moment of respite between these reloads to talk about this. The game is getting just faster and faster and faster, and a lot of the problems is like the custom builds that you can have, for example. The fact that I can have that 20% extra engine power purely because I want to switch out for maps where I want to be fast and then have the more aiming speed for the maps where I don't really need to be fast so much, mean that the game's become a lot more turbo, and the more important positions are taken more frequently by more and more powerful tanks that should not be able to access those positions. Previously, it was only, for example, light tanks that would be able to get the hill on mines. However, I just showed in the previous battle, no, now the AMX-50B can be able to go and take the hill on mines. And good luck trying to contest the hill if you know there's a 50B that can be able to get up on there just as quickly as you can. And oh, there we go, there's the third stab's accuracy, dumping in 2 rounds into the Gorilla. And I was thinking that this game might be mine. Back to what I was saying. The game is just getting so much faster that I've noticed that with a lot of Wargaming's changes on Stajanki and also on Mountain Pass, that I feel like they've sped up those maps as well. And I think that those maps, sometimes they were pretty quick to begin with. Wow, the fact that I'm getting spotted again, now I know exactly where the Object 140 is. I pinged the map, that's some good view range there from the 140, somebody that I'm going to have to take seriously. I want to finish what I was saying. That Wargaming are speeding up so many of the maps that I would be really angry if they decided that they wanted to change Malinovka to be more progressive. Now, progressive is one of those words that is looked at as a key improvement into map design, because the last thing that you want is to have campy maps. But there are so few campy maps in the game now that I actually really like the end game on maps like this. And I found myself recently really enjoying Malinovka and Prokhorovka because I really feel like I've got room to breathe and towards the latter part of the game, room to actually make plays. I know, and for me, that's the best part of World of Tanks, is the end kind of situations where it's kind of like here, like 4 versus 3, 4 versus 4, even like 5 versus 5, where you've got some room to breathe on the maps and to be able to make plays, and there are gaps in the enemy's vision, for example. Oh, here we go, 50B. Oh no, 50B, I opened my mouth. I can't seem to go through the wooden barricades here, but I actually managed to get 3 shots out of 4 in. I was happy about that. And that is where, you know, this firepower build just eclipses what I could have done with a mobility build. With the mobility build here, what I would have had to have done is I would have basically had to just rush the Object 140, ram him, and then be able to finish him off with the mag. I would have had to probably taken at least 900 damage, if not 1,200 damage to be able to achieve that. But at the time, I thought that the Char Fuchsia 4 was maybe supporting the Object 140. So now I'm up to 7,700 damage with 200 assistance, 8k combined in the first 10 minutes of this battle. And I'm with a Ho-Ri 3, who is now camping in the corner on, albeit, about 55% hit points. And the Kampfpanzer 3 Project 07 HK, which has got to be one of the worst tier 9 tank destroyers in the game. So I'm letting my team know that the Char, who was last spotted on full health, is, to all intents and purposes, going to be flanking around. And while I can do 1,600 damage to, say, the Char, that's not enough to be able to take away all of his 1,750 hit points. And then all it takes is the Object 140 to come in while I'm reloading that second mag to be able to finish him off, and the game is done. So I'm going to say in the chat, Kampfpanzer, please, we need to play. The Kampfpanzer says, what do you think? I push T95. I say, affirmative. You two need to push. If Char hits you, I can push. Tell me if Char hits you. Please, Ho-Ri 3. And then the T-54 says, if toy enjoy pain, ... That's quite cryptic. So my thought process in here is that if the Char shoots the players like the Ho-Ri and the Kampfpanzer, then that means that I can push the Object 140. The only thing that's stopping me from pushing the Object 140 right now is the possibility that there's a Char lurking in the shadows, either here, or over here, or over here, that will be able to finish me off. I have absolutely no problem going in and trying to win a 1v1 against a tank with 600 hit points, but I have a significant problem with going in trying to win a tank, a 1v1 against a tank that's got 600 hit points with the possibility of a Char that can flank me and be able to finish me off. And I really don't think that my team was going to win in that kind of a scenario against the Char. However, with 3.5 minutes left and a very big map like Malinovka, I just felt like I had to play. Unfortunately, the Object 140 gets a shot in the side. The Ho-Ri 3 actually finishes off the T-95, which makes me very happy. I communicate the Object 140's location to my team, but I have to keep moving right now. I'm trying to stay out of the spotting distance of the Object 140, trying to slinky round, and just trying to hope that maybe like the Char appears in front of me, I can ram them for 800 and then, I don't know, finish them off in this kind of a situation. Don't want to go into the dip too hard here, but I also don't want to like hang around with the Object 140 spotting me. And in retrospect, I think I should have probably slipped down the dip there a little bit cleaner to be able to get safe. Okay, so we've got less than 3 minutes now on this game. It is neck and neck stuff. We are just shy of 8,000 damage in World of Tanks with 2,300 left on the enemy team. This is a possible 10k game if the Char Fuchsia 4 has not taken any hits. And right now, I've just got to get in. I'm hoping the Ho-Ri 3 is going to keep pushing, but the Ho-Ri 3 actually falls back. In retrospect, that probably suggests to me that the Ho-Ri is getting spotted by the 140, and that's why he's playing passive. I tell my team I'm going to spot, tell them to pre-aim, and unfortunately I'm aiming at the Char. It takes me a little too long to repair my gun there, and I only get 2 shots into the Char, and just what I thought was going to happen happened. The Object 140 finishes me off, the Char gets 2 shots into me. Luckily the Kampfpanzer hits. Looks like the Ho-Ri fires HE there at the Object 140, or he low rolls. I don't quite understand what happened, but unfortunately for me, the Ho-Ri 3 is now going to turn around and they are going to run away from the situation, even though they do have pretty much about 60% of their starting hit points. Bro, come on, Sammy. You're Sammy. Go. Sammy, go. Not. You're wrecking the tank, Samir. No, not like this, buddy. Okay, fair play to him. He does turn around for the Object 140. And you know what? He's probably got to fall back. He can't just get caught in the open against the Char and the 140. Misses the shot. The Char puts a shot into his engine. There's now 1 minute and 20 seconds left on the game. And unfortunately, For Sammy, it's starting to look more and more ugly. But he has picked up 4 kills here. And so maybe there's a tiny chance if these 2 tanks decide to attack him at the same time. So I click back on my vehicle just to see how much I dealt. 8,600 damage and 900 assistance. This is once again a 9,500 combined game. Pretty much like we had on Mines. Although a very different game, right? We didn't use the fuel. We didn't use the turbo. We went full firepower, and it definitely paid off on a sniping map like this. But we didn't quite have the grunt in the engine to be able to make wide sweeping plays. All right, so come on, Sammy. You got this, buddy. Just 2 tanks to deal with. But unfortunately, this tank has about a 12-second reload. So unless he hits a tank in the next few seconds, it's not likely that he's going to be able to reload in time to be able to catch the 140 in the char. I was hoping in this situation that our only chance was that 140 in the char risk it to win it. Because as far as I'm aware, a draw is a loss for both teams. Nobody looks at your service record and says, oh, they've got 60% wins, but they've only got 30% losses because they got 10% draws, right? Nobody cares about how many games of World of Tanks that you draw. They only care about games of World of Tanks that you win. And unfortunately for us, this was a loss for both teams. I really tried my hardest in this round, but alas, it just wasn't to be. So our first game on Mines was a Scout medal, would you believe it, for spotting 9 of the enemy team, a Confederate medal for damaging at least 6 tanks that were subsequently killed by our allies in addition to the 2 kills, and a high caliber for the 5,400 damage that we dealt, including 4,100 assistance and 9,500 combined game. The second round was a first class for a draw here, even though we got courageous resistance. This was a 9,600 combined game where we got a high caliber and again a Confederate in addition to our 2 kills for damaging at least 6 enemy that were subsequently killed by our allies. And actually we shot 11 different tanks out of the 15 in this game, but we don't want to look at the amount of ammunition that I spent at there. 100,000 credits spent, but on the previous game we did make 61 profit. So ladies and gents, boys and girls, firstly I want to show how much fun the 50B is. This is actually a real fun tank when it gets going. Secondly, look, even if you don't want to use stupid equipment on your tanks like Uncle QuickyBaby does, and how they've been getting me some of the best results I've ever had and more 3rd marks of excellence than I probably deserve, at least consider 2 setups that work for your playstyle that you can switch out for the maps that you play. And if I have one recommendation, it's to try and diversify those setups so you can make your tank stronger based on the terrain and also the distance that you have to cover. 2 very different setups played in the 50B in the last week that had 2 suitably epic games. So diversify. Don't be like me, producing 2,000 videos on YouTube of one single game, but I digress. It's about using every tool at your disposal to give yourself an advantage and playing to not only your tank's strengths, but to exploit the weaknesses of the maps can be one of the best ways to play. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Really hope you enjoyed these 2 bangers of games. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for the World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, I'm going to be playing through to the hardest hitting tank in the game, the FV4005. This should be pretty sweet considering that there are a lot of WT E100 rentals playing the game at the moment. Let's hope we get a few of them to one-shot. So really looking forward to seeing you all live right now as I start at Tier 1 and work my way up towards Tier 10. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic and hopefully I'll see you soon.